We are recording, I think. Hopefully, yes. So I asked Sydney to come on this call this evening because we were like, who should we pick next? And I'm like, why not Sydney? Sydney is a freaking powerhouse. Sydney had a horrible accident and completely, she'll tell you all of her things, but she pushed through and she showed up for her life and she still did the workouts that she could do with her body. And so many people would have just like thrown in the towel and been like, you know what, I'm done, I'm injured, I can't do what other people can do. And she made the best of it. And have you seen her shoulder and her arm gains? I mean, her upper body, her lower body. Okay, Sydney, you got a rockin' ass body. But I am so jealous. Like, she has put in freaking work, even in the hardest times of her life. And even right now, going through all the things that she's going through, she's still showing up for herself. She's still doing the things that she needs to do. She's still pushing through. And I think that we can all take notes out of that. So I'm going to turn it over to her. I'm going to let her share her story and share with you what she wants to tonight. And then if you guys have questions or whatever, throw them in the chat. And then we'll open it up at the end. So here you go, Sydney.
Okay, well, I just want to start out by saying that almost freaking made me tear up because you're the sweetest human ever, but it has been the hardest and the best year probably of my adult life. So quick backstory just for anyone who watches this, who doesn't know. I grew up an athlete. I was a gymnast for 15 years. I played volleyball for 2 years. We'll just I was mostly a gymnast, but I did play actual sports. And going into college, I was always terrified, and I don't know exactly why, of the freshman 15. And I watched my friends gain weight, go get drunk all the time, gain more weight. And I was I just desperately did not want that to be me. So freshman year, my gym closed down and I was devastated, and I was okay, great. Now how am I going to be able to stay in shape? So at that point I was going to Lakeland. I was in the gym every single day that I was at Lakeland because I was, again, terrified of gaining freshman 15. And I became so fixated on that and so obsessed that I actually lost 15, 20 pounds. I was so damaged in my brain that I just became obsessed over the scale. I became obsessed over losing weight. I became obsessed that my boyfriend wasn't going to love me because I wasn't skinny enough, and he was younger than me. And so he was in the freshman stage of college at this point, going to all these parties and everything. And I was oh my gosh, I'm not going to be the hottest, fittest girl. And so I was terrified this whole time. So my insecurities overtook me, and I just became genuinely obsessed with working out all the time, eating 1,000 calories a day, burning 500 calories a day. I weighed 115 pounds, and being a gymnast and being someone with big boobs and someone with big legs at my height, I should not have weighed 115 pounds, but I did. And I never really saw a problem with that. My mom would be Sydney, you got to eat, stop running all the time. You're fine. You're skinny. You're gorgeous, all this stuff. And I just no matter what anyone told me, who told me anything, I could not believe it. So I finally had I'd gained 6 pounds or something, and I was at my annual OB appointment, and I was 124 pounds. And I just remember sitting in my doctor's office bawling because I'd gained so much weight and because I was so fat and so miserable with myself. And she's Sydney, you got to get your act together. Something is not right. And I just didn't want to hear it. And then Kyra had messaged me over and over again. I always ignored her. Finally, I was all right, you know what? I'm 124 pounds. I think I need to lose some weight. I got to get in better shape. And so that's why I signed up with Beachbody, is because I needed those workouts. I didn't really sign up for the accountability. I didn't sign up for the community. I didn't sign up for the shakes. I didn't sign up for any of that. I just wanted to stay in shape and lose a couple more pounds, tone up, do all the things. And a month in, I was wait a sec, this is more than just working out. What is personal development? I don't need to journal. I always made fun of people who journaled. And I think that was just another one of my insecurities coming out. Oh, I'm just too good for that. I don't need to dig in deep to my feelings because I'm fine. And obviously I was not fine. So I started creating a grateful journal, and I started just like actually diving into the tools that Beachbody gives us and that we learn from Deidre and from Kyra. And that like has genuinely morphed my life. Like, it was probably, I would say 6 months in is when I fully dove into like actually doing all the things, not just working out, not just portion sizing, but actually diving in and using everything that they give us. And so I signed up as a coach in October of 2018, and I worked out the whole time. I like kind of coached. I was like a hobby coach, but mostly because I just like couldn't stop talking about how much weight I lost and how fit I was getting. And I wasn't like purposely trying to sign people up. I appreciated it. I loved the $50. Like that was all fine. But at that point I was also a full-time nurse living at home. So I didn't need the money. And it really wasn't until I broke my ankle that I truly appreciated this business for exactly what it is. Because when I was working full-time, I wouldn't get on Zooms. When I first started, I definitely was not getting on Zooms because I was terrified. Like, what are these girls going to say about me? Like, what are they thinking about me? What are they talking about as soon as I walk away from the camera? Like, I was so terrified for the longest time. And it's like the second that I got on the first day, it was immediately like open arms and like, okay, girls, keep like kicking butt. You're doing awesome. And it's like, it really just goes to show you that like these people are on your side. Like they want you to succeed. They're not going to be talking about like, oh, did you see that move that Sydney couldn't do? Like, I get it. It's totally intimidating. And it took me a really long time to actually step in front of the camera. But once I did, it opened so many doors of friendships and like just opportunities of love and growth and all this stuff that I never realized until I actually dove in. And so in January of this year, that's false. Last year, 2020, on my honeymoon, I broke my ankle. I had multiple fractures and like bone fragments in my joint space, and I stripped the nerves and the veins and like everything. And so I was off for the longest time. At that point, I'd been consistently working out for technically like 20 years of my life. And it was the first time, except for like when I was younger and had injuries, that I couldn't work out. And that's when I had to actually dive into the other resources that Beachbody had to offer. I had to actually dive into personal development because this outlet that I had is like our stress relief and like the thing that I used to get my attitude in check, which was working out, was like no longer an option for me. So I was honestly like bedridden for the first month of my injury. I was in a cast. I literally could not even take a bath by myself. My husband had to shower me, like hose me down with my freaking leg in a trash bag. Like it was like lowest of lows of my entire life. And then like I got diagnosed with a chronic nerve condition and got told that like, hey, I know that you thought that this was just a broken ankle, but like it's going to be probably at least a year that you're dealing with this. And then it's like a shot in my ankle here, and then a shot in my spine here, and another shot in my ankle here. And it's just like, just this continual journey that I'm still struggling with today. But like, I did everything in my power to not let that stop me. I worked out from this chair, which like, I don't know if you can hear this while I'm like wiggling back and forth, but it's like the janketiest chair ever in the history of chairs that I think that if I weighed 30 more pounds, it would collapse from out from underneath of me. But I worked out in this chair for probably 4 months straight because I was still non-weight bearing. Like if I could stand up, it was with crutches, even if it was just one crutch, two crutches, like whatever. I had a walking boot, but I couldn't stand. I obviously couldn't jump. I couldn't do squats. I couldn't do calf raises. So I worked out from my chair. I did 2 rounds of lift 4 every day except for the leg day for 2 rounds. So 8 weeks. And then another 8 weeks of just sitting in my chair. I started 10 rounds from my chair. Did I say that at first? I don't know. I did 2 rounds of lift 4, 1 round of 10 rounds, all from a chair. And like it got very redundant, but I got very freaking strong. And not only was I getting physically strong, I was sharing my journey in the process and showing other people like how hard this journey was, but at the same time, how rewarding it was. And like, just physically by sharing my story, I've had so many positive things come back into my life. All these people telling me that I'm encouraging and that I'm inspiring, that like, I honestly didn't feel like I was doing anything different that I'd always been doing, but like, because people were watching me keep pursuing what I needed to be doing throughout the course of this injury has been like a huge eye opener for me, because it's like I've always been an athlete. I've always wanted to work out. That's just like what I've done. And so to me, it wasn't, wow, look at her overcoming these struggles. It was me like, what am I going to do so that I don't physically lose my mind when I can't do anything else? Like, I couldn't just go for a walk. I couldn't go for a jog. I really couldn't like go into the stores either, because it was right when COVID hit. And I like, my husband was like, Sydney, why are you making yourself miserable crutching around a store for 30 minutes? Like, that's unnecessary. So like, I pretty much sat at home for like 6 months straight because I couldn't do anything. I was miserable. I don't know. It was honestly like one of the lowest points of my life, so much that I would text my friends and be like, hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? And ultimately one of them was like, Sydney, what is wrong with you? Like, is something wrong with you? Do you need like to be seen? Do you need help? And it's like, I didn't realize that I was like that bad until other people were realizing how bad it was, like that I'd gotten depressed and like emotionally unstable. And I had drifted away from being involved in the community as much, because it's like, well, we couldn't hang out and I was barely working out. And so it's like, well, what the heck do I do with myself? So it's like, I don't know. And I don't even know if I'm making sense right now. I'm like kind of talking in circles, but it's just like, if I didn't have these tools, if I still thought that journaling was for losers, if I thought that listening to podcasts was for people who just needed help, because I didn't need help, if I just thought that reading personal development books were for people who were lame and had abundance amount of time on their hands, I was like, all these things that I used to make fun of were literally the things that saved my life in like the darkest period of my life. And I don't know. I hope that all makes sense, because it's like, for me, it's super emotional to talk about, because one of my biggest goals in life is to help people, and as a Christian, to be a light for people. And like, that's why I went into nursing, is just so I could genuinely help people, because it's like, I just love watching people get better. I love watching people like have a healthy concept of their lives, because I worked on a stroke and telemetry floor. So like, we had a bunch of people who came with strokes, heart attacks, like have had open heart surgeries. And it's like all these people that were super, super sick, which 90% of these issues that these people were having could have been completely erased from their lives had they taken better care of themselves, had they eaten a healthier diet, had they walked once a day rather than sitting on a freaking couch for half an hour. And so it's like, I just became completely obsessed with like, I've got to do something to this world to like help them realize that their decisions that they're making are having like a detrimental effect on their bodies and on their families' lives. And I just know that being not only a member of Beachbody, but like being a coach and sharing my journey and have other people like relating to you on a more personal level just by you genuinely sharing has saved my life. It has saved my relationship, because it's allowed me to realize that I'm more than just a 115-pound girl. And it's like opened doors for confidence and new relationships and old relationships that have come back in. Like, me and Nicola were literally, I wouldn't even honestly, Nick, call us like friends in high school. We were acquaintances because we had health op together. And it's like, now she's my best friend. And that would have never happened if it weren't for Beachbody. And it just like, it blows my mind how much you can gain just by opening like a tiny piece of your heart, because we have so many tools and so many opportunities that you can just like fill all of those random empty holes with, that it just like, I will never stop sharing and talking. And even if it doesn't make sense, and even if I stutter 15 million times on my stories, it's like, I don't really care, because this has pulled me out of the darkest times of my life and allowed me to be a light for others and allowed me to just flourish into this person that I think that I was meant to be. And so that's where we're at. And obviously I'm still struggling with my workouts. I don't know if anyone watches my videos, but I still can't jump. I still can't freaking run. I can't hardly squat. I still can barely do calf raises. And I have surgery on Tuesday for those that didn't know. So it's just it will be almost one entire year that I broke it on January 30th last year. I have surgery on January 19th this year. And so it's still a constant battle. And I just know that if I didn't use Beachbody as an outlet and didn't use personal development as an outlet, that I probably would have just buried myself into this hole that I probably would have never gotten out of if it weren't for you guys, this community, this team, our uplines, any and all of the above. I genuinely know that I would not be the same person that I am if it weren't for Beachbody, if it weren't for breaking my ankle, if it weren't for continuing to push past my ankle injury. It's just made a world of difference. And I remember at one point this summer, it was right after Summit, and I was the tannest person out of all of us. And I'm always the palest person, out of every lineup that I've ever been in, in high school, in college, and my family, and JJ's family. It's always hey, look how pale Sydney is. And my mom was Sid, or I was hey mom, look how tan I look. And she was Sydney, I honestly cannot express to you how freaking proud I am, because despite this injury, you are the healthiest and the happiest that I've ever seen you in my entire life. And that just goes to show how huge of an impact that this can make on you. Because a year ago, if I would have broken my ankle, I would have been wow, that sucks. Guess I'll watch 14 episodes of Grace today. But because of this, I don't do that. And because of this, I've made almost $1,000 a month. And which has been huge, because when I broke it in January, I still haven't been back to work. My PTO, which thank God I had that built up like a freaking mofo, because I got paid until either March or April. I had weeks and weeks of pay, thank God. But since March, I've not gotten paid, and Beachbody has been my only source of income. So it's if I didn't have this, I would be miserable. I'd be fat and sassy. I would be broke as a joke, and my husband would be Sydney, you got to get your act together. But genuinely, because of Beachbody, I've created a life that I don't hate, and I've created friendships with people that I would have never met, and rekindled friendships with people who I probably would have never spoken to again. And it's just my heart is so freaking full, and I'm just so freaking thankful every single day for Beachbody. And I probably wouldn't get out of bed half the mornings if it weren't for our morning Zooms, and if it weren't for having a program to follow. So there it is. That is my story. That is my spiel. So I guess if anyone has anything to say or any questions or whatever, just lay it on me, because I'm here, and I'm very thankful that you guys are all here. And I hope whoever watches this I hope that it makes sense, because I am not a speech giver. And I was messaging Amy hey, should I create some sort of layout? Should I take notes of what I'm going to say? Because I knew I'd probably speak in circles. But I wanted it to be realistic. And if you know me, I'm very scatterbrained anyway. So I'm yeah, we'll just go with it. So that's what we did. So I hope it makes sense.
This is why you're my friend, because we think in the same directions half the time. But it's just what you said, I was incredibly intimidated by you, and I've told you this before. I was incredibly intimidated by you whenever I first saw you. It was at a workout in Casey, and I'm who this girl? She all fit and shit, and I'm oh, she's so pretty, and so thin, so tiny, But what do you think? Because for me, it was the team get-togethers and leadership and Summit and all the things that kind of brought things together for me. And I've been with Beachbody. Next month it'll be 3 years that I've been doing Beachbody. And I know how many changes I went through in those 3 years. What do you think for you was a pivotal moment that has just made like the click over? I know you've talked about a lot of them in your story. As far as like the community goes and leaning in to that and really just, stepping out of that comfort zone and making friends with people that you've, never honestly would have met. I would have never met you had it not been for Beachbody.
Right, 100%. I think genuinely it was my injury, because that forced me to take a step back. It forced me away from like, I'm not waking up to go to work 3 days a week. I'm not struggling to catch up on sleep the rest of the days of the week. So it's like my mornings I devoted to this. And I never hardly in the last I guess it was a little over a year that I was a coach, I like never got on Zoom. And since I finally had the opportunity to do that, I think that that's truly when I was like, oh my gosh, like these people are rad. Like they actually like me. They actually want to support me. And it's like, you don't really know until you dive in, because it's like, I mean, people from the outside probably think that wearing Wednesdays on pink or wearing Wednesdays. This is my Wednesday shirt. No, wearing pink on Wednesdays is like super dumb and corny. And like it might be, but that's just our symbolism of like, you're not alone. Like you can only tag 10 people on Instagram, and every single Wednesday I'm filling those slots up, because it's like, these are my people. These are the people who get me out of bed every Wednesday and every other day of the week. And so I think that truly just not being able to go to work and having nothing else to do with my mornings forced me into, not forced, but like made me realize that, okay, there's an opportunity here. Like maybe I should get on Zoom. Maybe there's probably a reason that people talk about it all the time. And it's like, I just pray that that's what we give out to the world. Like the sense of FOMO is so huge and vital. And like people might get annoyed with it, but at the same time, it's like, we just want to show them what they're missing, because that was truly a pivotal moment for me, was just like finally diving in to all the things that I was missing for the year prior, was that I didn't know like what community actually was, because I was just doing it on my own. Yeah, I was doing all the same things as everyone else, but we weren't doing it together. So I think that when I was finally able to do it with everybody, it finally clicked that like, holy smokes, like this is actually pretty cool. And like I actually have people who have the same mindset as me and have the same daily priorities as me. And it's like, you don't really realize it till you're fully enveloped in that.
What do you think? What was there a certain personal development book, personal development podcast that really like struck a big change with you? Like I know my first one, the one that really started the balls rolling, but what is there a certain one that really stuck with you?
Not really. And I wish there was, because I've like heard people like how Renee talks about like the happiness project was really the thing that like got her to dive in. And it's like, I never really experienced that. Like I found my love of Keisha very early, before I ever even knew that she was in Beachbody. So I think that a lot of what she had to say helped me a lot. So like if anyone does not listen to her, the Empower Her podcast has like helped me out a ton. It's helped me to develop the confidence I have like as a person, as a friend, as a business owner. Like, so I guess that's kind of like the only one that truly sticks out. And I also used to listen to Earn Your Happy from Lori Harder all the time too. And I feel like those two kind of went hand in hand when I first finally realized what personal development was and like why I needed it. Because before, like I said, I was like, nah, this is a joke. I'm not going to listen to a podcast. But like those two truly stick out in my mind. And I became obsessed. Like I would listen to it on my way to work, on my way home from work, in my shower. Like as soon as I got home from work, I had it going all the time, because I was like, holy cow, like these freaking people know what they're talking about. And like once you put those practices in your actual lives, it's like, oh my gosh, what they're actually saying is right, and it actually does make a difference in your life. I think that's huge, because like, I mean, and some days I still even struggle. And it was like 2 days ago, I was in a rush and I didn't do any of my morning routine except my workout. And that night I was like texting JJ and I'm like, I feel so off. And he was like, what do you mean? Like you feel sick? And I was like, I don't know, I feel like anxious and like I have all this energy, but I don't want to do anything. But at the same time, I'm like, I need to be doing something and I'm missing something that I could be doing. Like it was just like all of these things. Then the next day I was like, flipped open my gratitude journal and I was like, I didn't do this yesterday. I didn't read any of my books yesterday. And so I like, it's, you don't really realize how much you need it until you don't do it. And then it's like, you're anxious and you attest it like, okay, that makes sense. Like, that's why I feel like this. So yeah, empower her, earn your happy, and Kairos is always good. And another one is 100 Days to Brave. That was like one of my first ones that I loved it because it's biblical, but I also love it because it doesn't have to be biblical. Like it's just a matter of, okay, write a letter to yourself, step out of your comfort zone, call a friend today, go get coffee with a friend today. And it's like, I feel like I needed that because I've always been such an introvert that I would never, even if it was my best friend, I would never call anybody. I'd just be like, hey, I want to like maybe hang out sometime. It's okay if not. But now I'm like, hey, what's up? We gotta get something to eat. Like now it just like has allowed me to like be confident in who I am and not have to apologize for slipping up on my words or like saying something dumb, because it's like, that's what you get when you signed up with me. Like, sorry, not sorry. So I think that those are like my biggest things.
Anyone else have any questions, comments, anything for Sydney while we have her here before I let her go?
Sydney, you're my jam.
I love you.
You inspire me like daily. So just keep doing you.
You have no idea how much that means to me, genuinely. And it's just like, I don't know. It warms my heart. And it's like something that I like, honestly, and this is probably just me being overconfident in who I am now. Like I probably have for years because I was like always the top athlete in my gym. And like, I've even heard back from people like, yeah, you used to inspire me. But it's like, I would have never known that if I wasn't sharing my journey now. Like, because of me sharing who I was a year ago and who I am now, and me sharing working out from a chair and like knowing my gym friends that I used to work out with that watched me overcome other injuries. It's like, Sydney, you have no idea how much you inspire me every single day to keep going. And it's like, you don't really think about it because it's like, well, it's just what I do. Like, I like working out because if I don't, then I'm a biatch and I don't want to be that person. Like, I don't want to be her. And so it's like, it's crazy that just by you sharing your every single daily routine, like your life, it just can be such a light for other people. So I am so freaking thankful for all of you. And what does Faith say? Aw, Faith, that was so sweet. I love you guys. Carly, also, I'm a little sad because we were supposed to freaking drive to New Orleans together. I will never forget that. The very first time that I ever met you was when we did that group workout. And you're like, you're going to Summit, I'm going to Summit, let's drive together. And I was like, okay. Like, I had no idea who you were. And I was like, just down for it. So I appreciate you and people like that, because I was like, yeah, you guys just like do your thing. Like, I'll be over here. Like, because I'd never met anybody. I never even met Deidre at that point. So that was like my first, like, oh my gosh, you guys are crazy and I'm not. But like, I'm just so thankful because it's like, I've like come into that person that I think truly who I've always meant to be. I was just scared to like show that side of my personality, because it's like, I've always been a dork. All of my like family members will attest to that. JJ will attest to that. Like, people who actually know me will attest to that. But the thing is, it's like, I never really allowed people to actually know me. So I'm just like thankful that I have a group of people who allow me to be myself, because it's a lot easier than pretending all the time. It's a lot less exhausting. So
I think that's the most beautiful thing that I've seen, like the change in you, is watching you go from, you know, feeling like you needed to be a certain person into, you know what, bitches, this is me. So if you're gonna take me, take me. If not, if that, it's on you. Like, this is who I am. You're so uniquely yourself, and that is my personal mission for myself and for anybody who I help, to find who they uniquely are on the inside, because that's been my journey. And to really be able to open up and really be that person and then share that with other people and use this business as a platform to help people, like to really, really be that servant that you want to be, that you are using your gifts that you've been given from God to share every single day through your struggles, through your journey, and the journey of figuring out who you actually are. And it's a really, really beautiful process to see. So just keep being you and keep doing it because you're killing this shit. And that's exactly why I wanted you here. Like, people need to see your life. People need to see the struggle. People need to see the light. People need to see what you're sharing. And I think it's amazing. And I think you do an amazing job at it. And you are just such a light in this world. And I'm so incredibly thankful to know you. And I'm so incredibly thankful that you've been here with us this evening and you've shared your story. And I am so excited for everybody else who gets to catch the replay that's not been on here already. If anyone else has anything, or if you have anything left to close out with, we'll let Sydney go do the rest of her evening. We'll let Nicola go to bed. And
Shut your mouth, Amy. I'm tired.
No, I just want to say I'm so thankful for all of you who like believe in me and encourage me every single day, because like I wouldn't be who I am without literally every single person on this call, and even those who watch it who probably don't think that they have any impact on my life. They do every single day. And it's just like, I'm so thankful, because without you guys, I wouldn't keep going. And like, I'm just like every single day realizing other stuff that I want to share and just like give back to the world, everything that I've ever received. And it's just like, it's such a freaking blessing. So I just want to say thanks for having me. I love all of you guys so freaking much. And I'm so thankful to be part of this team. Even if it's like 3 tiers down, like I'm still there, and I'm just super, super thankful.
well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for speaking, especially on short notice. It was amazing, and I will be stopping this recording in a minute and downloading it and figuring out how to upload it, so then you can have it for your team and for wherever else you want to share it, and then I will just upload it probably on Divine Dynasty, something like that. So all right, thank you so much.
Anytime, my dear.
Everybody have a good evening.